Hey guys, I got pooped on by a bird the other day.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. You should buy some lottery tickets.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. But I didn't know where to get traditional lottery tickets nowadays. So I opened my phone and I bought a ticket to get an iPhone. It was really cheap, a lot cheaper than buying an iPhone.
If that wasn't the case, it would have been really funny.
And also, I got pooped on a month ago also. And I bought another ticket back then as well. I have a few different tickets. I'm waiting to win an iPhone.
Have you considered the birds are working for Trendyol?
I have not. I hope not. they are already big enough. I hope they leave the birds alone.
No company is big enough. That's preposterous.
Do you guys also buy tickets because you were pooped on? Because
No.
Fortune Bird has found you,
No.
as they say. Why not?
I mean, maybe our foreign audience is a little bit confused about bird pooping and lottery tickets. So maybe we should explain that first.
Wanna do that?
So, okay, in Turkey, there is this...
Probably in neighborhood countries as well.
Yeah, probably in like Bulgaria and Greece and maybe even in Romania and old Yugoslav countries.
Maybe in Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia.
Yeah, those are the countries, all of them. So the tradition is basically if you are out and about in a street and a bird poops on you, usually a pigeon, that is a sign of good fortune and you should go and buy lottery tickets or something in order to exploit that good fortune to obtain wealth.
I mean, when you put it out like that, it really sounds like a mother who once told her child that were oh, this happened, but it is actually because of this, so you shouldn't feel bad. A pigeon pooped on you. It really sounds like it, a mother calming her child down.
But it's a really chance to get poop on you while you're walking. When I was a child, while I was riding a bike, a pigeon probably pooped on my hands while my hands are on the bar. How can you just aim it? So it's a chance. It's a chance game.
I mean, it's definitely a chance, but the more fascinating part to me is in this equation, there is a straight up an iPhone lottery hosted by a website, and I'm assuming this is like a continuous thing. This is something that happens regularly on Trendyol, because I'm not knowledgeable.
Especially because our loyal audience will know Trendyol even when you appropriately pay for the telephone that do not deliver it to you. Even without chance elements, it's a gamble to try to buy iPhone from Trendyol. Our audience will know.
It is so interesting for this to be a thing, it should be profitable, right, for Trendyol. So that means enough people buy into this iPhone lottery that they can continue doing it, which is interesting that kind of gambling or betting that you will hit that lottery has creeped into daily use that much. Because when I was a child, only way you would see gambling would be, I mean, in our culture it's also not very forward. We don't have late night poker shows, etc., right?
And it's illegal actually.
So when I was a child, the most you could see would be the yearly lottery, at the New Year's, the big one that gets marketized, and also from the old movies you would watch the horse race betting, and it would also always be framed as a negative thing. It would be this loser who can't hold a job is just putting all of his money because it would be a man. It all of his money, all of his wife's money, all of his children's money into horse races and losing. And now like we're in a kind of in an environment where this thing is exceedingly becoming like part of our lives. You can just stumble into it randomly at any time online.
I mean, it is actually there's this interesting quirk in the Turkish gambling law. I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, but as far as I can understand,
This is not legal advice.
as far as I can understand, it is only considered gambling if you are giving away money, according to Turkish law.
Correct.
So, like when you are giving away things like iPhones or chocolates, stuff like that.
It's a lottery.
I am looking at stuff on my table, glasses. Then it's not considered gambling, according to the Turkish law.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're still doing it because like the mall culture is a lot less popular. But when like the big malls first like blew up in Turkey and like they were constantly building like this huge malls, they would also have like, we are giving away a car. Just spend like 400 liras in our mall anywhere and bring us to like the receipt and we will give you a ticket. And that kind of thing would happen. And that will also not count as gambling. But on paper, you can like see that it is gambling, right?
Yeah, the price is waiting game on like the waiting on the line.
It is not gambling in the sense that you would have spent that money anyway in that
But
mall.
you will wait for a long time in a line, so you will spend your time. And
But I think
stretching the definition too much. But I think mall example is perfectly apt because for Trendyol, you are saying it must be profitable. Not necessarily. It might be the case that even though they are actually losing money on iPhone lottery, I'm not claiming that's the case. It probably isn't, but they would still be doing it because for a website like Trendyol, which is this online shopping website and app, the important thing is for them to get people in the app.
Yes, that is fair.
The important thing is they are trying to make you open the app, and if that's what it takes, then they are perfectly okay with it. They are probably, even if they are losing, they are winning back the money from the traffic they obtain with these lotteries.
Yeah.
probably.
But these things like get me thinking because, again, like I said, like I was a child, this was not very commonplace, and like as the internet grew on, I think just through the like sheer scale of communication and reach, these things have gotten bigger and bigger and more specific. Because like sports betting, for example, always existed. Even like got legalized and existed in Turkey here too. I mean, horse race betting is sports betting. Even if you don't like even if most people don't get invested that much in horse racing as much as like soccer.
Yeah.
First of all, what is soccer? That's a weird word you are saying.
That's a bummer.
But yeah, horse racing in particular has a very old history actually. Like even in Roman times, people were betting on sporting events.
Yeah, but the thing is, now that like the reach of these things have like grew so much more in size, the reach of bets like also have, because at in the old days you could like bet on the outcome of the match, right? Maybe you could bet on like how many goals are scored.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because this is all on internet, and you can reach a lot more people, and you can find people who will click that bet and maybe like try their luck with it. There are so much more bets just based on sports, just on a single match, like how many yellow cards, how many red cards for football, like how many what percentage of the match will be played on this side, like when will the goals be scored. Like you can bet on quite literally every aspect of the match, like how many people will attend this match in person, etc. Right? And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of spilling outside of like the usual mediums we expect it to be. Because for good or bad, we expect sports betting to exist because it's a huge market, like the sports like football, basketball. These are like huge markets with people invested in the outcome regardless of the betting, right? So you expect some market of that to be taken by betting, by like you're already invested in this, why not like take a chance on it, make money on it. But more and more recently, this has spilled over other areas. Like, first of all, I don't think I've really talked about. When I get the chance, I follow like esports, especially League of Legends esports on my like second monitor because it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to see. And because the regulations and like limitations that usually exist in real life sports have not really caught up to esports yet, because like this is a new area and the technology is always growing ahead of the law, the betting has like completely overtaken the esports scene, to the point that because esports are games, like usually these players are famous players, will also like stream as a revenue or like marketing themselves when they're not even doing their like professional stuff, like they're just playing a game, maybe they're playing another game. And the betting has reached so far because you can see the player at all times. Like, people have started betting on their like solo games they play on their stream. Like, will they do this? Will they lose this? Will they win this? And because of that, because the thing that is getting bet on is so much out in the open and can affect it by random people, people have started like DDoS these players to make sure they lose so they win their bet. Or like people have started like reach out to the players in the game that's like streamer is playing for them to like purposefully lose so they can win their bet, right? And this has gone so much like out of scale. Some of the professional like League of Legends players cannot stream their game because the second they like get into a game, they will get either like get trolled in the game for betting purposes, or they will get like DDoS attacks because of this betting environment.
Okay, so I see where you are coming from, and I want to like. First of all, I want to say I am not categorically against betting.
I'm not either.
I just consider it as a way to monetize information. Is what betting is to me, and I am not categorically against it. Even though it is true that in our country, the general stereotype of a better man, a gambling man, is the type of person that would gamble away their children's money on horse racing and such. But it is also, I also consider it problematic to bet for things that are not sanitized, for the lack of a better word. Because like in a sports events, it is like a football match. You have referees, you have regulations. Like if stuff starts going wrong, people intervene. There are certain rules on how that would happen and such. So you can really just bet on the outcome of the game without being able to affect it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
let's leave it. Let's leave that line there. Like, no more comments on the betting affecting outcome of games.
But even with that, the main thing is, I think, on this is the government control. Even though they were,
I mean, it doesn't have to be governments.
I mean, even though they were subletting, kinda, what they are making it in private, still under control of the government, or in a way that they can not control, but actually it's the control. The word is control. So that's the main part with the all the lotteries and all the sport betting, and especially in football, it's controlled by the government. That way, also with the sports federations are involved in a way. I mean, even though we still don't really be sure about sports transparency, still it's kinda we hope, I guess. We hope it's a transparent thing with all of the referees and with the all of the things. I guess it's the main cause.
Like recently, let me date this recording. There's European Football Cup. It is
Yes.
organized by a non-government organization, FIFA, and what they are basically, there are large number of matches, and even like the matches themselves aren't organized by a government, but the with the betting, there's both the legal type. I mean, yeah, legal kind of betting, like government sponsored betting in Turkey about the outcomes of the games. And then there's also the crazy, insane world of online betting on, like, as Binali said, on details. But even with all this large magnitude of betting going on, you can still claim that to a certain degree. Like, football enthusiasts will call me naive for saying this, but the game is played in a relatively fair way, like relatively unaffected from the type of people who want their money with the betting because of the way it is regulated. However, when people are starting to bet on stuff like, is chicken gonna cross the road or not, then because chickens aren't regulated as closely as these big sports events, you are gonna start seeing people throwing chicken from one side of the street to the other in order for them to make their money, because everybody wants to make money from a sure bet. And if they can help it, they would. So even though the esports thing is kind of sad, but it's very predictable, I think.
I think it is predictable. Like, I agree with you, because these things are, again, that's the thing I'm talking about, though, right? Because this scene, like the esports scene, for example, is a newer, like, less regulated scene. For example, in the same game, in League of Legends, the entire, like, half of, like, Vietnam League just got, like, expelled and banned for match fixing scandals, because the system is barely, like, making its way to this, like, precautions the other sports have made. And, like, these things definitely happen in other sports too, but they are much more regulated and they're much more
Probably.
controlled. So it's much
Also physical act. I mean, if for the digital game, it will be kind of easily hacked or cracked. System could be fooled. Maybe a little bit easier than like a regular football game that everyone watches at the same time. I mean, if there was
or you can just give the guy some money and he can play differently.
I mean,
Which is
that
also-
needs some. Yeah, that's
the
another
match
part.
fixing scandals come from there. And, like, this happens in football too, like I said, but, like, on a much lesser scale, because this is a much less controlled environment with, like, esports. And the reason I like bring up that part of it, and reason I say, like, this thing can easily get outside of control, because with, like, NS is saying, with, like, government regulated betting, which has, like, checks and balances on, like, how much people can bet on a certain thing, for example, etc. These things can be taken under control. But with online betting, especially now with, like, pushing of, like, crypto to the masses, and, like, even, like, a person you see on the street has, like, random access to any number of crypto markets with a single button, because this thing has crept into our lives completely. It is so much harder to control these betting websites, because they don't work with banks. They don't need to work with banks. They can just work through crypto. And if you, like, look into online betting, you will see that each and every one of them has, like, crypto agreements, crypto advertisements, and just take money based on like, several crypto coins, and will not accept your money in anything else, because that's the way they avoid regulation. And the reason why I said, like, why I brought up the less controlled environment of esports is, this thing does not stop there. And like if you have maybe run into it, because I have run into it in the past, even though I do not seek this gambling. If I go on a social media website, on the sidebars, if my ad blocker is not functioning properly, or if they like paid the apps to the website so it can't be blocked, you will see a lot of betting on things that are not sports or things that are not like big events that will happen. Like Eurovision, for example, is something we are very invested on, and there has been like a huge Eurovision betting scene. Every year we see it. Every year we see the odds. But even that, you don't go onto Eurovision for like Eurovision does not exist for the betting, right? And it is much harder to affect by betting. But this thing is getting into like real life events and like politics, and because of the scale of the internet, this thing is getting into events that can easily be manipulated by one or two people doing one thing, and there is no actual way to control it or regulate it. And I think this is the part where it's like becoming a, oh, this might be a minor issue, into, oh, this is a like huge problem, and this is becoming a huge problem.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I can understand that this is a thing that's happening, but let me be frank with you here.
Yes.
Why should an average person care about this? Like, I am listening to you, and as a person who is enthusiastic about internet, it is certainly an anecdote. I would listen to a video essay about this, but like, why would a regular person, I mean, why would my mother, for instance, care about this situation?
Would your mother care about this? Here's the thing. Right now, we are in a situation where every little thing any public figure does is subject of a bet. And you might think I am like exaggerating, but I am not. For example, like if we go into, I have a website in front of me that we can link in the description. And if you like go to like the pop culture thing, you can see that there are weekly bets on how much Elon Musk will tweet this week. Or like who is going to be like the next James Bond actor. Or like who will from this time, because we talked about Eurovision, like will there be a song with AI singing in Eurovision before 2030? Like this kind of debates. And as over time, because these bets have become like more and more and more specific, this will continue to happen so, because they have the reach and they have the scales. Like you might think this is like a minor thing, but the Elon tweets that I mentioned, the weekly bet, has $100,000 betted on it so far, just on this website. And like, as we continue to bet on things, especially on the politics side, where people are betting on who will be the nominee, who will win the election, what policy will be passed, will this law pass, etc. And as these things get on more and a more local level, because the betting has a financial incentive behind it, this financial incentive will start to bend the outcome on the things that are being bet on. And you don't want that to be happen, because you don't want your policymakers to be beholden to like a betting market that is continuously betting on them. Or you don't want your like celebrities or like micro celebrities or anyone with like influence, like because even they're betting on like people like YouTubers, like people like Instagram influencers. What will they say? What will they like say about this issue, etc. If these things continue to get out of hand, if these things start to affect like the way these people act, then this has a direct effect on the society. And even if you cannot like directly see that link, you can see that creeping in just from now. And by the time this just continuously gets into our daily life and actually starts like directing the moves of people, people who are influential, that is going to directly affect you.
So what you are basically saying is there are decisions being taken based on the information provided by, let's give an example. There's a mayor in a city.
Yeah.
And people started a bet saying, is this mayor gonna ban red beverages?
Yes.
This bet exists. And people start to, like, obviously because this is a ridiculous thing, people are saying no, which is the general trend of the bet, which makes it being, yes, more profitable. And then somebody can lobby the mayor into banning red beverages and take all the people's money who are betting no.
Yes.
And we end up with a city where nobody can drink
red beverages. Yes.
I was gonna say cherry juice, but yes. That's the type of outcome you are worrying here. Like people who are trying to protect their money or trying to make money, influencing stuff. And well, I suppose one of the primary ways this would destroy people's lives would be people from first world countries influencing third world country situations. Like maybe global south is the cool word nowadays, but like somebody from Netherlands can influence something happening in Zimbabwe. They can cause bad results for those people in Zimbabwe in order to make money in Netherlands.
Yeah. I mean, there before Mami discussed this, I said there are like layers to this. And here's one of the layers. Because so far we like talked about like sports and politics, which are like big avenues, but like or like pop culture, but you're like, you may be more like maybe dismissive about it, even though financial incentive entering these avenues is a huge risk and something we have tried to prevent through law in other areas, like through like banning conflicts of interests, etc. Right? But there is a whole another layer of this, which is like business and finance betting, which is like you can start to bet. Like this is like an insane sentence I'm about to utter. You can like bet on how a stock will go or how a crypto coin will go, which is like these things are already like, these are not gambles. Like stock market is not a gamble, right?
I mean, it kind of is, but
it's an informed investment. You can say it's an informed gamble, right? But because it's an informed gamble, you can't manipulate stock market itself. Like there are laws against it.
Stock market is an excellent example because I was gonna also bring up for a similar reason. Because it is very, very heavily regulated stock market.
Yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to be.
But
like,
the thing is,
there are people whose entire career is trying to find people who are insider trading and busting them. And like, it would destroy you. That is one of the worst crimes you can be caught of. Insider
but
trading.
The thing is, with these things getting more prevalent, we're like adding another layer of betting on stock markets that is not regulated at all. That might as well as like start affecting and try affecting and maybe is trying to affect how the stock market works. It's even worse on cryptos, which is a completely unregulated market. Like already getting into crypto is a bet and gamble you are making yourself because these things are not regulated. But there are like companies and betting websites that let you bet on crypto, which adds another layer of it, which means now there is so much more financial incentive for some people to like mess around with the value of those stocks, for example, those cryptos, and like affect real life events through these things, because these things do not exist in a vacuum.
So you can you can bet on a currency of a third world country.
For example.
And here's the thing, like all of this time you are talking about how a person would bet and then manipulate the outcome in order to keep their bet. But what I would be more afraid of wouldn't be that. What I would be, consider a situation. Consider a situation where there is like a minor election, say for a mayor of a small place, and there's a bet on it. candidate A and candidate B. Suddenly, you look at the betting website and you see that A, even though they are polling closely, a large number of people are betting that candidate A will win. What would you think? Would you think that people are trying to fix the election? Or would you think that somebody knows the outcome of the election before it happens? I would be thinking too, because like in stock market, like I said, insider trading is a big no. You shouldn't be insider trading. And what insider trading is basically, you know that you work in Apple, a popular example, and you know that Apple is gonna release a new product, say next week, but nobody else knows this. You go and buy Apple stocks, then they release it, stocks go up, you sell, and you are criminal.
Yeah,
that's insider trading, basically.
Yes.
Acting on stock market with information that is not available to the public.
Yes.
But in this betting, obviously, especially with real life things, you know that you can know that something will happen.
Yeah, it is much easier to access insider info.
You know that the princess is pregnant because you are the doctor. Yes. And you can, before this information is released to the public, you can bet on princess's pregnancy bet. And the interesting consequence would be, for an outside observer, suddenly this thing is being betted on. So a third party would look and say, the princess might be pregnant. So this is, in a way, for information to get released to the public, it becomes. Because of insider knowledge people making non-random betting choices. That's what I would be thinking, not that people are trying to bribe the princess into being pregnant, but somebody who knows the outcome making bets.
I have a different perspective, what I get it from what Vinay says is it's more risky when something is not direct. It is elected, for example, if it's a fair election, especially if it's elected by a huge number of people. Betting might change people's ideas about who might win, but on the larger spectrum, nobody actually, not many people, is actually reading about betting, or they don't really see the bet sites, so they don't know about the bet, so they won't get affected that much. Even though there are some polls about who might get elected, who might be won, even they won't ask you about who you will vote, but they ask you who might win the election. It's another part, but what I'm gonna say is, if someone is elected and you can bet on what they will decide on this topic, what they will say, will they say and do that kind of thing. If it's kinda decided by a smaller number of people, it might be risky. Then it can be lobbied into, or even that person can put their money and be the insiders themselves. If a YouTuber, if you are betting on a YouTuber, who will they say? Will they agree on that idea or not? YouTuber can decide on what to say and bet on the idea which they might get more profit. But what I really feared after Vinali said is, I don't really care about the money of those people who put their money on YouTuber, and if YouTubers' actions cannot affect me, actually. But what I might fear is if it's related to politics, and if it's about maybe huge monies. That's kind of risky for us. I don't care about the people who put their money, actually. I mostly concerned about the actions afterwards. If I really like red beverages and cherry juice or such, I don't want to.
As far as I can tell, Binali's worry isn't about people losing money on betting sites.
Yeah. I do feel like...
my second least concern is the person who won the bets. I care about that inequality as well, but I'm not as much as concerned as the decision they're making with the bet.
Well, my concern about like people losing money is not tied to the bet itself. It's more like that's a whole another topic, like the how much betting is pushed on the people. But that's like another whole topic. That is not like topic of this episode.
I mean, they should
I
get.
think one thing I want to come back to is, John Dennis, like in the example you gave of like
Cherry juice or the princess
pregnant thing, that's a determinant event that like the doctor knows the yes or no questions, right?
Correct.
But there is another perspective on this, which is like in an election, like the previous example you have, in an election, the reason the odds are skewed, etc., might not just be because like they have received like polls the day before and they know they're leading, etc. It could also be just manipulation. It could also like this, because like you said, the odds are in information, and this could use to manipulate or push the public in one direction. I mean, I think we actually lived through an example, and I don't think it was a manipulation, and I think it was a cause and effect thing in Eurovision this year, because someone in semifinal 2, as far as we know, accidentally leaked like the percentage votes each country got from their country in Italy, right? In the broadcast.
Yes, Italy.
And as a result of that, the odds of Israel winning like skyrocketed from like 6% to like 30%, I want to say, like the day before the Eurovision final. And because of that, I saw countless thread on Eurovision Reddit like those days, like those 2 days. That's like the odds of like Israel has gone this much. We need to find like one country to like put our votes in so that it like surpasses Israel. It doesn't leave all the 12 points to Israel, etc. Right? So these are these odds actually can affect people's choices and affect them in a mass level, affect them on this level where a song contest in a whole continent can like get its result affected. And you could say, yes, the first affectant there was the leaking of the percentage votes, but the one that had the direct access of information to people was the odds skyrocketing because people started betting on Israel, and this impacted people's like informed decision about how they were going to vote in the day after. And
okay, you know what I'm thinking?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What I'm thinking is, when I listen to you, like, let's leave aside the people who win or lose money from these things.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it seems like this just the betting behavior. Let's call it the betting behavior, like outcome A and outcome B, and what are the odds and how are people betting. That's just a new kind of media, like information media, like news outlet. Like, because in Turkey there's this what I consider to be bad quality newsmanship. They report on politician tweets. Like, this politician said this on the tweet. This politician has responded with this. Oh my God, leader of opposition retweets this kind of, like, not a fan. But yeah, like, similar to how news outlets are reporting Twitter, they should be looking at these betting results, and they should be treating this as a new source of information on events. Like, you can go and say, oh, this outcome, cherry ban, seems to be betted with very high percentages. So this is a likely outcome of the cherry situation. Like, this can be the type of information access this system can provide for people. Like, I am seeing why you consider this to be problematic. But I both consider that this is similar to a news outlet, newspaper, website, both in the sense that it can manipulate the outcomes of events, similar to a newspaper, and you can learn about the outcome of events, similar to a newspaper. So to me, it's a newspaper where people are losing money.
But the newspapers are regulated. Newspapers have laws around them to make sure they can't do certain things. And you can you can argue that maybe these laws are loose or not. Maybe the newspapers still can be used to manipulate things, and they definitely are. But it is much different in terms of context, because you're not going to a betting website to be informed. When you go to a newspaper, you have expectations. The expectations are completely different on a betting website. And the betting website, newspaper, has an incentive to give you the news in their perspective, right? If a newspaper has a certain ideology, they will wrap it in that ideology and they will frame it as such. But this is still within the context of being a newspaper. Betting websites, incentive is money and only money. So when they are bringing you these odds, it is not for the purpose of informing you, and it's not purpose of clearing up a topic. Even in any ideological sense, it's a pure financial incentive. And if we go on and do things on pure financial incentives, that's not gonna be a newer, better type of media.
Look, media, by definition, is always driven by profit.
Correct.
The profit might not necessarily be monetary incentives. They may be thinking socialism will be better for the world, so we are profiting by bringing socialism, they might say. But honestly, usually the other is more probable. You would have more newspapers doing stuff for money. But I am not disagreeing with you, but I think I disagree on how the results would be explained. Because here's the thing. I don't believe this can be regulated. I don't think it is possible to regulate online betting. I don't think it is possible to ban online betting. So I think the way to battle this is people should be more informed about what to do with this information.
I do agree with that. It is, I don't know if it's impossible to regulate it, but it is definitely a problem to be tackled, because I don't think it can be left to its own, and I don't think it is something we can easily inform people around, especially when there's a profit motive. Because if you're trying to inform people around the subject, the other side of it is going to fight back against it, because it is better for their incentive for people to not be informed.
I am not saying this will be easy. I am saying that there is no alternative. There isn't a B possibility, because when you cannot, in a sensible way, regulate online gambling, because internet is so big. The only way you can do it is maybe do Iran and ban certain type of internet entirely. But I don't think that's the right way to go.
I think you can still battle it, but I think no matter which way you are able to go about it, the first step is always acknowledging this is a problem, and I don't think that is acknowledged at all.
Education.
I agree that acknowledging, and besides, let's forego all the cherry and princess pregnancies. Tell me, Mr. Binali, what is the harm in going to an online lottery and hope for a box of candy or something? Don't we all know such people who go to spend 5 liras or 10 liras on a silly little bet and then win something or lose something and have a little bit of fun? What's so wrong with that?
There is nothing wrong with that, but what is wrong with something? There is something wrong with the bet I'm looking.
I know a lot of wrong things about things. That's a silly way to frame a question.
Well, there is something wrong with this specific bet I'm looking, which is will the Turkish lira be higher than 31 by the end of 2024? Like,
Oh,
again,
that's what I
these are the
said.
things. Like, you're right that this is hard to regulate or fight against, but this is a problem. And, like, the
Look,
longer we don't see this as a problem, the worse it's going to get.
you are being ideologically blinded by Europeans. I am not saying it is hard to regulate this. I am saying it is impossible to regulate this. Which is
I
the difference.
disagree.
I am not saying by throwing money and just, I mean, okay, you can have a different opinion, but don't misrepresent mine.
Okay.
What I am saying is, no matter how much resource you pour into this, it is not possible to make it like even before all these internet methodologies, people were still betting on election outcomes of countries. Like before internet as a concept, real life event betting was
But
available.
But the extent is the problem here.
Yes, and
Yes.
So when the outcome and the amount of money they can earn increases that much, people will have more incentive to rig the election, for example. That will be the
if
problem.
you can, like Anna said, if you can limit the reach, maybe you can't completely destroy online betting, and maybe you shouldn't. But if you limit the reach and you put some obstacles in front of it, you can stop it from being this overreaching, complete like takeover of everything that can be bet on.
I mean, that's the only solution is to educate people and make them more aware. You can't really do much.
You know what I'm betting on?
No.
You know what I'm betting on? I bet that this episode will never end.
Okay, maybe Izel can tell us a story about her experience with betting.
I shouldn't. I really shouldn't.
I mean, there's something that I can add that I feel we are not really discussing that much about. The betting and gambling itself is an emotional, invested event, and it can lead to addiction, and it's a thrill. It's not fully about winning or losing for the people who participate in this, how much they money own or not. They can be billionaires or just your local guy from the Speti. But the main reason people tend to do is that thrill. That's why it's a huge entertainment sector. That's why there are cities just based on this addiction. And that's why I agree with John Dennis as well. Like, it was always there from part of human history. And as the technology developed, this entertainment or this practice will continue. Like, yes, it is based on information, but sometimes people just do it even though they don't have information. It doesn't have to be always calculative or reasonable. Sometimes they just do it because, you know? And I think that's one of the things that we tend to forget. And that's why a lot of these thrill can be implemented in our daily technology too. When we look at the social media implementation of infinite scrolling and likes, because that's classic thrill of, oh, maybe I will find a good meme. Oh, maybe I will get a like. Oh, maybe the next post will be more entertaining. Our body runs in this kind of like fluctuation of emotions, and any sort of reward, that could be a like, that could be winning the League of Legends player, option that they did, or that could be a soccer game or tennis play or local election. It doesn't really matter, because the idea is not just based on winning and earning money. It's also about that part of being in the thrill.
I think I want to add, there may be some people, I am not saying this type of people really exist or not, but there may be some people who would think I am already watching the sports events without any extra thing, but I can maybe turn my immense knowledge of watching sports events since I was 10 into money. Like they may be thinking by betting on this thing that I am very passionate about, I am making some of the money I lose back. Like I am turning my emotional investment into money by betting on the sports event because I am very knowledgeable, because I have been watching sports events since I was a child. Such people may also exist.
Good luck with that.
But the betting like itself is also a game when you don't involve money. People like to guess, people like to be right, people like the unknown thing to be revealed. That's why a lot of like gambling games also have non-version, without money and lose, and that's why you can play with pebbles, still poker, and have fun. You will lose things, still pebbles, but like it doesn't directly have to be purely based on economic reason. That's just one thing that I also want to add into this discussion.
Yeah, then it won't be that won't change, that people won't have an incentive other than winning, the feeling of the winning, to rig the election, for example. I mean, then you won't, if there wasn't a money in the end.
If the goal was just for the winning, people will at some point stop, but like it's not just the winning, it's definitely more complicated than that. And sometimes people will stop after winning one game because then there's this kind of thrill of like, what if I can win another one? Or what if like this repetition and continuation and the thrill of being part of the similar group of people that have the same excitement of things as you do is also part of it, I feel. Just to add.
And again, I will add to Elif's addition. Online comes with a unique problem in this regard, online betting, because like with a horse racing, what you have is a newspaper, like old times. What you have is a newspaper and a other paper, and then some guy with money taking. With an online app, you can use all the type of Skinner box tactics we talked about and people talk about with like mobile games, all these addictive elements, and you can use them to make a person who is maybe already prone to a gambling addiction be more easily tricked into fall into a gambling addiction. Because it is very easy to make a person an addict using a mobile app.
But I think a person who is addicted to horse riding betting probably will try to learn more about horses who are running in that race, how they are feeding, how they are getting fat, how are they ill or not, who did what in the last race, who will probably will run better in the next one. They will probably kind of obsessed with all the info. So they also try to get inside information as well while they're probably be watching that on live. So they will have a community there, even in the old times. So online just extends the extent of it.
But the reach of the online environment is like so much more vast and easy to access compared to what you said.
Also, a game, a food sports game or any kind of game, don't really change my life. However they end, however whoever
for you.
they wins. But elections might. I mean, I don't really care anything about sports events, so I'm happy with that.
So yeah, maybe like this is a big topic, and some real life event betting and sports betting and addictivity of betting apps, like what giveaway type of gambling, like with cars and such. All of these have their own nuances that can be discussed on their own rights. And in general, like with the big notion, like when we are talking about all of them at once, it might be difficult for a person to grasp what each and individual hazard point represents for a person. Like election results and mobile app addictivity and emotional addiction based on gambling. These are all big topics, in my opinion.
Definitely.
That's
I
why
agree.
there is no conclusion, just discussion.
But we shouldn't agree. There should be discourse always.
Yes.
We
So,
shouldn't
okay, let's
find it.
argue. Gambling is the best thing ever, is my opinion.
I love gambling. I just gambled.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
no.
it is stupid to do a proper, honest day job. Instead, everybody should be focusing on horse betting statistics and then try to make their money that way, is my opinion.
You know what? You know what? I just want to finish up what I will say. By this picture, I will also put on the show notes and I will send it in the podcast chat now. And I am reading it out loud. Here are the bets on whether the July 2024 will be the hottest month on record or not. And I think that's kind of like.
I mean, they're betting on God's business.
I mean,
Oh,
not
no.
necessarily. They may be bribing metallurgists, the weather measuring people. You are
Maybe they
you
are
are
the
so
cause of global warming.
Oh no, they are behind all the petrol,
oh yeah
fossil fuels.
they are all mining the hell out of their
Oh, no.
bitcoins in order to make this month hotter.
So, if you like this episode, please like us on all of our social media accounts. You can find us on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or now on YouTube. And if you like our episodes, or if you argue something against anything at all, please write a comment down below. Okay, I'm a YouTuber now.
Yeah, we have a down below now.
Yes, we have it down below now, even though I'm just a little line that I mean goes down and up. Anyway, please do so.